On a bright Tuesday afternoon at the Aurora Retreat, a place where every detail, from the scent of fresh orchids to the rhythm of background jazz, was curated to impress the elite, she walked in alone. Her suit was navy, her steps deliberate, her presence composed. There was no entourage, no flash of status, just a leather wallet, a phone, and a name known only to a few in power. Her name was Eliana Grant, and according to the reservation log, she had booked a private room, Palm Room 3, for a business meeting scheduled to begin in less than 15 minutes. But to the front desk staff, she didn't look like someone with access. She didn't fit the pattern. And when her name appeared on the screen as E. Grant, it only deepened their assumptions. What unfolded next was quiet, almost elegant in its wrongness. No raised voices, no slurs, just a series of small decisions, measured looks, clipped questions, fingers hovering over intercom buttons. Decisions made by people who thought they were following protocol. Until protocol turned into profiling. Eliana had come not just for a meeting, but for something more deliberate. She wanted to see firsthand how her own staff treated guests when they didn't recognize power, when it didn't show up in designer labels or skin tone. She booked under an alias. She expected to be treated like any guest. What she didn't expect was for security to be called, for her identity to be questioned, for her presence to be treated like a threat. What followed was caught on livestream. It started with one woman filming quietly from the lounge. Within minutes, thousands were watching. And as the truth unfolded, the story transformed from an incident of quiet bias into a national conversation about race, gender, power, and the quiet dignity of staying calm when others expect you to break. This wasn't just a reservation dispute. It was a test. And Eliana Grant passed it with the same grace she built her empire on. It was 2:47 p.m. when Eliana Grant stepped into the grand marble lobby of Aurora Retreat, her heels making measured contact with the polished floor. She wore a deep navy suit, fitted but not flashy, a silk blouse beneath it, and carried nothing more than a leather wallet and the weight of her reputation. The chandelier's crystals cast soft light over her presence, but it wasn't enough to soften the suspicion she was about to meet. Naomi Lee, head receptionist, had been with the resort for 7 years. Her instincts were quick, often correct, and this time, they told her that the woman approaching didn't belong. Eliana walked with composure, but to Naomi, the confidence looked misplaced. Behind the reception desk, Naomi's fingers drummed the wood as she let a cautious smile rise. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you lost? The service entrance is around back." Eliana stopped. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes lifted directly to meet Naomi's. "No," she said evenly. "I have a reservation." Naomi's smile stiffened. She glanced at her screen, where upcoming bookings filled the hour. "We're expecting Mr. Tanaka in 18 minutes, she mumbled, scanning for room availability. Name? Private conference room, Palm 3, under E. Grant. Naomi hesitated. The name showed up, sure, initial only. But it didn't match the profile she expected. "That says E. Grant. That's obviously not you. No mistake," Eliana replied. "I booked it yesterday." Naomi's tone sharpened. "We don't do walk-ins. These rooms are reserved weeks in advance." Eliana remained calm. From the corner seating area, a woman in oversized sunglasses with a phone held up started live streaming, the red recording dot glowing. "Are you a member?" Naomi asked, this time louder. The lead streamer's fingers were flying, captions scrolling. Eliana repeated, "I have a reservation." "I need to see your membership card," Naomi said. Eliana reached slowly into her blazer. At the same moment, Naomi's hand inched below the desk, toward the silent panic button. Light caught the face of Eliana's watch, a classic Omega, elegant, not flashy, worn with purpose. "I don't carry a card," she said. "The reservation should be enough." "That's not how we work here," Naomi snapped. We have protocols. From the live stream, a viewer typed, "Why does she need a card if she booked a room?" Another wrote, "This is racial profiling. She's literally calm and polite." Eliana calmly pulled out her wallet. Her boarding pass peeked out, JFK. To Tokyo, seat 1A. The black Centurion Amex reflected the chandelier's light like a mirror of unspoken wealth. "You could call the room to verify," she offered. Naomi's hand now hovered near the intercom. "Don't threaten our staff," she warned. From a side corridor, security officer Tom Avery stepped in. 2 decades in this line of work, and he could read trouble in body language. This didn't feel like trouble. It felt like someone trying very hard not to make a scene. "What's the issue?" he asked. "This woman says she has a reservation." Naomi said, "She won't leave." Tom looked at Eliana, calm, no raised voice, not fidgeting. She even checked her watch. 16 minutes until my guest arrives," she murmured. "Guest?" Naomi repeated, loaded with doubt. "Mr. Tanaka," Eliana said, tone unchanged. "He's flying in from Tokyo for our meeting." The live stream, now pushing 90 viewers, lit up again. "Tanaka as in Hiroshi Tanaka?" one user typed. "He's a billionaire." Naomi's computer chimed a new email. She read it, eyes narrowing, then looked back at Eliana. "Anyone can say they know someone important." "May I use your phone?" Eliana asked. "Use your own." "Outside," Naomi replied, voice clipped. The elevator behind them opened. Rachel Porter, resort manager, stepped out. She noticed the tension instantly. "What's going on?" she asked. Naomi waved her over. "We have a situation." Rachel approached the desk and looked at Eliana, then the reservation screen. "E. Grant, Palm Room 3, 3 p.m., party of 2. "That's not her," Naomi said quickly. "That's a mistake." "The reservation is confirmed," Rachel said, "but we'll still need membership verification." Eliana again reached inside her blazer. This time, Naomi pressed the panic button. Tom's radio crackled. "Backup requested." Eliana's hand paused mid-reach. "Is there a problem?" she asked. "Standard protocol," Rachel replied. "We need ID." The live stream viewer count hit 120. The woman filming tilted her phone to catch Tom, Rachel, and Eliana in the same frame. "This is wild," she whispered to the camera. Eliana pulled out her driver's license slowly and placed it on the counter. Rachel didn't reach for it. From the elevator, an older man with silver hair and posture that commanded attention stepped into the lobby. "What's going on here?" he asked. "Charles Hammond," Rachel said quickly. "We're handling something." Charles glanced at Eliana, then the security officers. "What kind of something?" "She claims to have a reservation," Naomi began. "But she's shown her ID?" Charles interrupted. "Yes, but we're still waiting on a membership card." Charles stepped forward, picked up the license, read the name aloud. "Eliana Grant, Central Park West." He handed it back, looked at Eliana, then back to Rachel. "She's shown ID. You confirmed the reservation. So what's the actual issue?" No one answered. The live stream hit 200. The comment section exploded. "It's 2025. This is still happening?" "She's literally the calmest person in the room." "They messed with the wrong woman." Charles turned to Rachel. "I've been a guest here for 30 years. You're making a mistake. Either resolve this now or I will." The room fell into silence, the kind that comes just before a storm turns inward. Eliana checked her watch. 14 minutes. The room didn't breathe. Not the staff, not the guests lounging with cocktails, not even the woman with the live stream, whose phone screen now ticked past 200 viewers. The only sound was the gentle hum of air conditioning and the distant clink of dishes from the kitchen. Eliana's license sat on the marble countertop, her name clear, her address unmistakable. Central Park West. Not exactly a pedestrian neighborhood. Charles Hammond, respected longtime member and guest. turned back toward Rachel and Naomi with one final question hanging in the air. So, what exactly is the problem? Neither woman answered. Do we need more? Charles asked. You've got the ID, you've got the confirmed reservation. And she's been nothing but courteous. Naomi's voice cracked slightly. We still haven't verified her membership status. She doesn't need to be a member to have a reservation, Charles said. You confirmed that. Rachel shifted on her heels. That's true. But in cases like this, we follow security protocols. Eliana's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in clarity. So in cases like this, she repeated, when a woman of color shows up alone, dressed professionally, carrying documentation, and speaking respectfully, your protocol is to call for backup? Tom Avery, the senior guard, cleared his throat. Ma'am, if I may, I'd just like to confirm that you're here for a meeting. Eliana looked him squarely in the eye. With Mr. Hiroshi Tanaka. Scheduled for 3 o'clock, Tom blinked. He had heard the name, everyone had. Tanaka wasn't just a business figure, he was a titan. If she was lying, it would collapse in minutes. But something told him she wasn't. Okay, he said. I think we should give this a moment before escalating. But it was too late. The radio on Tom's belt crackled again. Backup en route to main lobby, a voice confirmed. Second shift, activated by the silent alarm Naomi had pressed earlier. And then it happened. The elevator chimed, and 2 more. Guards emerged, stepping into the space like actors entering the wrong scene. Their eyes scanned the room, taking in Naomi's rigid posture, Rachel's folded arms, the woman filming quietly in the corner, and Eliana, still calm, still in control. Eliana. Grant, she said, as one of the new guard. Guards approached. I'm the one you were sent to check on. The first guard looked confused. Ma'am, we were told there was a disturbance. There is no disturbance, Charles cut in. There is a mistake, and it's not hers. The woman filming whispered to her phone. This is unreal. They've brought in 3 guards for a guest with a reservation. This is what discrimination looks like in a suit and tie. The viewer count shot past 300. Rachel spoke again, softer now. Miss Grant, would you be willing to step into the office with me? Just to clarify everything privately? I'm comfortable here, Eliana said, not budging. My guest expects to meet me in the lobby. This is where I'll stay. Another ping on Naomi's computer screen. Another email, urgent. She opened it and froze. Her face paled. Everything all right? Rachel asked. Naomi didn't answer right away. She looked at Eliana, then back at the screen. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Finally she managed. I need to double-check something. In the kitchen beyond the lobby, a chef leaned to his sous chef and whispered, This doesn't feel right. That woman's not doing anything wrong. Eliana stood quietly, watching. Not because she wanted drama, but because she needed them to. See her, really see her, not as an interruption. Not as a threat. Just a woman in control of her space. In a building her company owned. The livestream viewer count passed 500. The comments became faster, sharper. This is why people film everything now. She's playing chess. They're playing checkers. Tom shifted his stance. He had been doing this for 2 decades, but something about today rattled him. Maybe it was the professionalism of the woman being challenged. Maybe it was the fact that she hadn't raised her voice. Not once. Maybe it was the way her voice calm, even held more authority than the radios on their belts. Eliana Grant, he said, almost to himself. Then he turned to Rachel. Can I see you for a moment? They stepped aside, whispering. Eliana. Heard just enough. I think we made a mistake. Rachel returned, more composed. Miss Grant, she began again, this time more formal. Our apologies. I didn't have full context earlier. Eliana tilted her head. What changed? Before Rachel could answer, the lobby elevator chimed again. This time, the man everyone had been waiting for stepped out. Hiroshi Tanaka wore a charcoal gray suit, with a quiet sheen, flanked by 2 assistants. His expression was unreadable as he scanned the scene. The 3 guards, the frozen receptionists, the manager, and in the center, Eliana Grant, calm, confident, unmoved. "Eliana," he said, bowing. "Slightly." "Hiroshi," she responded. "Welcome." The entire lobby seemed to shift in that moment. Naomi looked like she wanted to disappear. Rachel visibly swallowed. The guard straightened up. Tanaka turned to Eliana. "I heard voices when I entered. Is everything all right?" "We'll discuss it upstairs," Eliana said, motioning toward the elevator. She didn't look back as they walked to the lift. The doors closed behind them with a soft chime. And still, the live stream was running. Back in the lobby, silence settled like dust. Naomi sat down slowly, staring at her monitor, knowing something irreversible had just happened. Rachel clutched a business card in her hand, Eliana's card, the one she hadn't read until it was too late. Outside the camera's view, Tom Avery muttered to no one in particular, "That's the CEO of the company that owns this entire place." The live stream hit 1,000 viewers. Upstairs, in the private Palm 3 conference room, Eliana would soon show Mr. Tanaka not only the merger projections, but the truth of what had just unfolded. Because leadership, she believed, wasn't proven in quarterly numbers. It was proven in lobbies, when people thought no one important was watching. And today, everyone had been watching. By the time Eliana and Hiroshi Tanaka reached the private conference room overlooking the shoreline, the storm had already begun to ripple beyond the walls of Aurora Retreat. Downstairs, the lobby was quieter now, but the tension lingered like perfume in the air, visible in the nervous glances between staff, the frozen smile on Naomi's lips, and the phone that refused to stop buzzing behind the front desk. Inside Palm Room 3, Eliana poured tea with steady hands. "Earl Grey," she said, sliding the cup across the table to Tanaka. "I remember you preferred it over coffee." Tanaka took the cup with a nod. "Your memory is precise. But I sense today we have more urgent matters than tea." Eliana opened her laptop. On the screen, 2 feeds glowed, one from the resort's internal security cameras, the other a replay of the live stream, now being shared across platforms. 3,000 viewers watched that unfold in real time, she said. "The story's already trending. Messages are pouring in." Tanaka leaned forward, his fingers steepled. "Your employee displayed clear bias." "Not just one," Eliana sighed. "The receptionist, the manager, multiple guards." This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an instinctive response to someone who didn't look like power. She clicked to another tab, personnel records. Naomi Lee, 7 years here. 23 guest complaints over the last 18 months, all dismissed or explained. Away, the common thread? Each complaint involved guests who didn't fit our usual profile. Tanaka's brow furrowed. And this wasn't acted on? Not properly. The system is designed to protect itself, not reform itself. Eliana brought up the next profile, Rachel Porter, 15 years in the industry. No previous complaints, but no intervention either. Today, she escalated the situation instead of diffusing it. She saw the presence of a composed black woman as a threat needing containment. And security? Tanaka asked. "Mixed," Eliana replied. "Tom Avery has 20 years of service. He didn't initiate escalation, but he didn't stop it either. The silent alarm protocol was triggered automatically, and rather than override it, they followed script. Which is where the real problem lies," Tanaka said. "The script," Eliana nodded. "Exactly. What happened in that lobby isn't about Naomi, or Rachel, or Tom. It's about a culture that rewards assumption and penalizes pause. That treats doubt as safety, and bias as procedure. Outside the conference room, calls were flooding the resort's phone lines. Some were press inquiries. Others were from concerned guests. Still more were from corporate partners. Eliana's assistant knocked on the door and handed her a printout. A partial transcript from the live stream, now viewed over 1.5 million times across Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. At the front desk, Naomi still hadn't spoken. Rachel stood nearby, trying to manage the moment, answering calls with a voice that was steady but thinner than usual. In the kitchen, staff had gathered around a phone, re-watching the footage. Roberto, the executive chef, whispered to his sous chef, "I've worked here for 8 years. I've never seen anyone handle discrimination like that." Back upstairs, Tanaka asked the question that hung over the meeting. "What will you do?" Eliana didn't hesitate. "What I should have done sooner. I've prepared a policy overhaul. For our entire group of properties. Mandatory anti-bias training, anonymous incident reporting, AI-enhanced monitoring of staff interactions with guests, diversity audits, a zero-tolerance framework." She turned the screen toward him. "A full budget plan, line items, timelines, reporting procedures. This will cost us roughly $500,000 a year. But the reputational cost of not acting? We're already down 3% in stock value before the news has fully broken." Tanaka smiled faintly. "You've already calculated the damage? I've lived it. I know exactly how fast perception can collapse a brand." Another knock. Rachel entered, paler now. "Ms. Grant, I apologize for the interruption. But the board is calling an emergency meeting. They're flying in." "How long?" 3 hours. "From Chicago, Ella. Everyone's on the move." "Good," Eliana said. "They should see this firsthand." Rachel lingered. "Naomi's asking to speak with you privately." Eliana didn't move. "Tell her I'll see her when we're finished here." Rachel nodded, then added, "There's something else. We've received over 200 membership inquiries in the past hour. Many from first-time guests, diverse professionals. They say they want to support whatever you're about to do. Then let's give them something worth joining." When Rachel left, Tanaka looked impressed. "I came here to discuss a merger," he said. "But this is a movement." Eliana leaned back in her chair. "It wasn't supposed to be, but I won't let it be forgotten." Downstairs, the silence was shifting. Staff whispered not just about Eliana's identity, but about what her response meant. She hadn't raised her voice, hadn't asked for anyone to be fired, but the pressure in the air was unmistakable. This wasn't the kind of storm you survived by staying still. It was the kind you joined or got swept away by. Back in the lobby, the woman with the live stream of a Morales finally lowered her phone. "This," she said softly to her followers, "this is how the real ones lead. Calm, exact, unapologetic." In the office behind the front desk, Naomi sat alone, still clutching the resignation letter she had written by hand. For the first time, she saw her reflection clearly, not just in the screen, but in the eyes of her colleagues, now avoiding hers. Every interaction she'd once dismissed as not a big deal, now lined up behind her like shadows. Eliana wasn't done yet. The cameras would fade. The phones would stop ringing. But what came next was the real test, not of damage control, but of structural reform, because this wasn't about one receptionist or one room. It was about every lobby where someone still has to prove they belong. 3 hours later, as the golden hour spilled across the Pacific and bathed Aurora Retreat in quiet, the executive board gathered in the main conference room. A mahogany table stretched across the room like a bridge between tension and decision. 6 board members, flown in from across the country, now sat in tense silence. Their screens were lit with messages, their feeds flooded with the viral footage. Eliana entered with Hiroshi Tanaka at her side. She didn't need to raise her voice. The weight of what had happened spoke louder than words. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, Meet Hiroshi Tanaka, CEO of Tanaka Global. We finalized a $280 million merger contingent on our demonstrated commitment to corporate responsibility. Board Chair Victoria Sterling nodded, but didn't smile. Eliana, we need to address what happened downstairs. Legal's already flagging potential claims of discrimination. The press is circling. Eliana passed printed reports down the table copies of Naomi's complaint history, the transcript of the live stream, and an internal audit showing a 12% drop in guest satisfaction tied to staff conduct. We didn't just fail one guest, she said. We've been failing quietly for a long time. Board member David Cho leaned forward. You accepted Naomi's resignation? She offered it voluntarily, Eliana said. I accepted. With severance. For Rachel Porter, the general manager, I'm issuing a formal reprimand. 6 months of monitored training and a performance review tied to guest equity metrics. James Morrison, another board member, interjected. Is that enough? The backlash is growing. Media outlets are demanding statements. I've prepared one, Eliana replied. She handed Victoria a document. It takes full responsibility. No deflection, no excuses. It details our new reforms. Victoria scanned it, brows rising slightly. You're going public with internal numbers? We control the narrative by owning the truth, Eliana said. Transparency is the only path to trust. Tanaka added, in Japan, we have a concept called Kaizen continuous improvement. Eliana's approach reflects that spirit. David tapped his pen against the table. So what's the plan? Beyond statements. Eliana turned on the projection. Screen behind her. Slides appeared. Training modules, AI oversight blueprints, bias reporting platforms. Effective immediately, we are implementing the following across all 47 of our properties. Mandatory unconscious bias training for all staff anonymous. Guest and employee reporting systems connected directly to my office monthly diversity audits I-powered. Review of customer service interactions. A zero-tolerance discrimination policy with immediate consequences. Cost, $500,000 annually. Expected gain in brand value and retention, exponential. Can we afford this? James asked. We can't afford not to, Eliana answered. Our stock dropped 3% in 4 hours. The merger with Tanaka's values and visibility will recover. At tenfold if we show leadership. Victoria looked across the table. All in favor of the reforms and the response strategy? Every hand rose. Unanimous. Eliana, Victoria said. You have the board's full support. But Eliana wasn't finished. There's one more thing, she said, clicking to the final slide. We're launching the Equity and Hospitality Initiative, a scholarship fund for students from underrepresented backgrounds. Internships, mentorship, full tuition support. Starting with 100 students in the first year. The board murmured approval. Hiroshi Tanaka smiled. My foundation will match the funding, he said. The meeting concluded with assignments. Victoria would handle investor relations. David would coordinate legal. James would oversee communications. Eliana would lead implementation directly. As the room emptied, Tanaka remained behind. You didn't just fix the moment, he said. You built a model. Eliana nodded. We'll make this the new industry standard. Back in the lobby, things had shifted. Guests no longer whispered. Staff no longer avoided eye contact. A small plaque had already been installed near the front desk. Respect is the first service we offer. In the days that followed, Eliana's interview on the Today Show reached 12 million viewers. Her calm explanation of dignity under pressure was shared across every major platform. Membership inquiries spiked. Competitor brands requested copies of her training program. Universities asked to license her case study for business ethics courses. Ava Morales, the woman who filmed it all, Signed a book deal. Dignity doesn't flinch. What I saw in that lobby became a bestseller. She donated her advance to the new scholarship fund. Rachel Porter completed her training and chose to stay. Naomi left the industry entirely. But before she did, she sent Eliana a letter. Not to justify, not to plead, just to thank her for facing the moment with restraint when Naomi herself hadn't deserved it. Eliana never responded. She didn't need to, because real change doesn't need applause. It just needs to begin. And this time, it had. 3 months later, the lobby of Aurora Retreat felt different, not because of the furniture or the lighting, but because of the silence. It wasn't tense anymore. It was attentive. Conversations moved with intention. Staff greeted each guest as if they could be anyone, because now they understood that anyone might be someone who mattered. Eliana Grant stood just beyond the reception desk, unnoticed at first. She watched as a new guest entered, backpack, no reservation card, accent unfamiliar. The new receptionist, David Park, didn't flinch. "Welcome to Aurora," he said warmly. "Do you have a booking I can assist with? No assumptions. Number. Performance. Just service." Behind her, a framed plaque now hung on the wall. "Excellence begins with respect." It wasn't decorative. Every new employee read it during orientation. Every veteran was reintroduced to its meaning. The training Eliana implemented had transformed the company. Customer satisfaction had risen nearly 50%. Complaint rates dropped to a record low. New members came not only for the views, but for the tour d'état. Values. Industry peers began modeling their policies after Aurora. And competitors stopped seeing her reforms as liabilities and started calling them best practices. Her partnership with Tanaka Global had redefined the scope of hospitality. Their joint foundation funded scholarships for over 100 students across 12 countries. Those students now interned in luxury hotels, bringing not just skill but empathy, perspective, and ambition that systems had long excluded. But numbers weren't what stayed with Eliana. What stayed was the moment in that lobby when 3 security guards surrounded her, when her identity was reduced to suspicion, when she had every reason to fight and didn't. She remembered what her mother had once told her. "Your calm is your armor. Your mind is your fire." And she had wielded both. It wasn't just that she had the power to end careers or the platform to go viral. It was that she had chosen to reveal her authority not as a weapon, but as a mirror. She had held it up to everyone in that lobby and let them see what they'd become. Naomi Lee never returned to hospitality. Her resignation had been clean, but the exit was weighty. She'd written a second letter months later, one that Eliana kept in a drawer, not out of nostalgia, but as a record. "You showed me who I was and who I wasn't. I hope to be better wherever I land next." That was all Eliana needed. Charles Hammond, the elder guest who had intervened, had since become one of the most vocal champions of the new policies. He gave lectures to other long-term members, reminding them that age didn't grant wisdom unless it evolved with time. "Dignity isn't something you demand," he often said. "It's something you give, especially when no one's watching." The security staff, once taught to suspect, now trained to protect through presence, not pressure. Their uniforms hadn't changed, but their approach had. They walked slower. They listened more. They watched not for color or class, but for need. One of the guards, Tom Avery, had even requested to lead part of the training sessions. "I missed it," he told Eliana. "That day in the lobby I should have known. I didn't, but I want to help the others know now." Eliana agreed. What she had built was no longer a hospitality brand. It was a blueprint. During her final interview with CNN Business, the anchor asked, "Why didn't you lose your temper that day?" Eliana paused, then smiled. "Because anger might have proven my point, but restraint revealed theirs." The video went viral not because of outrage, but because of truth. Quiet, Undeniable truth. That real power doesn't need to shout. It waits, it watches. And when the moment comes, it stands. One guest, one room. One mistake, that's all it took to uncover what no audit could. And from that moment, a system changed. Justice wasn't served in the form of punishment. It came as reform, as humility, as a new path forward. It came because one woman, in one lobby, stood her ground without needing to raise her voice. She didn't demand respect. She made it the standard.